Hello everybody, Lorelai here. Let's talk about the new Dragonyule banner and its importance in the game. So, first things first, we're going to talk about the new 5-star Melora. I'm excited. I'm excited to play with her. She's very strange. She looks very powerful, but she's kind of awkward, so we'll get into that. So right off the bat, she has a defense down and damage S1, similar to Halloween Mim. However, this only works on shadow units, but it also lasts 5 seconds longer. Lasting 5 seconds longer is a really, really big deal in general play. Oh, also, it doesn't stack, so there's no Marth memes, but like, whatever. Her second skill deals damage and then deals bonus damage if the enemy has defense down. Because you're going to have like 100% uptime with the S1, thanks to the extra time that it has, that skill is basically always going to be boosted. And that skill does over 2,000% modifier skill damage when it's boosted. So in about 6,800 SP, because that's the amount it takes to charge her S2, she's going to do 3,000 to 4,000 skill damage, which is... As far as you want to compare damages, that's probably the highest axe we've ever seen besides Ramona. And Ramona does about 6,000 in that time. But Ramona's also Ramona, so that's a little unfair. And that's 4,000% before factoring the defense down on the skill and the defense down on your team. So this girl should do a lot of damage. She also has Overdrive Punisher to further boost her damage. And the shield is kind of interesting because in most content currently, it's not actually that good. Like, Zodiark doesn't have a lot of tackles that you can block. But anytime you can block an attack thanks to that shield and you're allowed to continue a combo, Axe benefits greatly. And she's going to benefit a lot because her SPs are not good. Her SP costs are not good. We'll get into the SP costs in a second. I'm going to go to Zane first, the new 4-star. We'll also talk about the rerun characters. So, Zane has a crit boost for Wind Adventurers on his S1, and then an S2 that does damage and fills Dragon Gauge. He has the same Wonko ability. He has Prime Strength. So he is basically Crit Noel. Instead of Prime Defense, he has Prime Strength. So he's arguably a little bit better in solo than Noel if you have something like Victor. Not really, because 25 strength is definitely better than 20 crit. However, getting crit bleeds or boosting Lynn's crit rate with Long is something that might actually end up being very, very good and possibly make them a bit more viable. I don't really know, because Noel is just so good. What's interesting me, though, however, is using Victor, Noel, Welly, and Zane instead of using the second Welly. Because with the new strategies, you don't need to destroy a bubble. So you don't need the second Welly's HP regen as badly. And giving crit to Victor, who basically does all the damage of the entire fight, would be a really big deal. So it's interesting. I would love to see someone main this boy and see how far we can go in Master Mercury with him, and if he's actually better. Prime Strength is interesting. Using him, Noel, Victor, and then like Welly or Lynn, probably the best MG team now, if I had to guess. I don't really know about 51 plus though. I don't know about their survival. So that's something for other people to figure out, really, because 51 plus is kind of a no man's land. Dragon Claws on him is whatever. We'll talk about Nefaria really quick. Unfortunately, she doesn't really have that many uses, and I'm saying unfortunately because my friend is going to be so mad at me. She's not as good as Lara, even in burn content. The shield isn't really useful because the S2 is kind of slow. It helps you fight off burn, but the damage that you're losing really isn't worth it, especially with new strategies in Gelly. She's fun though, like Flurry Freezer, which causes her to freeze random enemies, is pretty fun and would be nice to use in more mob content if it existed. Dragonyule Xander, technically better than Lily, according to the sim. Not really true, I don't think. Like, he's a little awkward. His S2 buff affects nearby teammates, so that's a little awkward for a ranged unit. And he does freeze, like Lily. I don't know. He's not really much to talk about. If you get him, cool. He'll be helpful. He's probably not as good as Estelle, though. Summer Estelle. Just because she has a more interesting and usable buff. And then the old dragon, Dragonyule Jean. Dragonyule Jean is strength and crit rate. She's the only dragon to be this so far, and I really wish we got more of them. Her best use is freezing Jupiter in Master, honestly, because her freeze is kind of fast. Other than that, she's better than Levy by like 1% until you bog or enter Dragon State, because Levy's Dragon State damage is so busted with 2 attack dodge forever. And you usually Dragon to ignore mechanics or to do break damage. So really, Levy's better in like every situation I can think of. The only time you would really want Jean is as like a secondary or tertiary Mub 5-star. Siren is usually going to be better than that. But as like a tertiary dragon for your Welly, it's not bad. Like, I'm probably going to pull it and Mub it just because I need a 3rd Mub dragon at this point for water. And it doesn't really matter which one I have. She is... One thing of note that I forgot to mention right away that I really should have, she's Lara Nora's best dragon. So if you love Lara Nora, this dragon lets her go really crazy. To absolutely incredible levels. And is really the only thing I could recommend pulling Yin for. Because for Master Jupiter, you can stun with HMS. As a 3rd tertiary dragon, you can just wait for a new one, because no content so far seems to need a 3rd Mub dragon. So yeah, Lara Nora. And finally, we have Croissant Phoenix. She's okay. These kind of dragons that have Punisher are very good when Punisher's available. Her actual paralysis affliction on her dragon skill is 110%. Which is not that exciting. That's pretty bad. Like, you're not really going to trigger that para after a while, I don't think. I don't know. It depends on the quest, of course. Is this a damage boost for Fleur and Yachio in Zodiark? Yes. Do I think you should use it? I think Fleur should use it. I don't think Yachio should use it. The reason for that is it is more damage, so obviously we want to use it there. But the reason Yachio should stick with Cupid is in low damage expert groups or in kind of messy master groups, people will take damage from tackles or tail slams, or everyone will stack on Umbra. And you really, really just want Cupid over more damage. Because again, Zodiark really isn't about damage, it's about people dying. And the extra heal from Yachio just adds more consistency. And with the way the dragon meters work, since Gudins have dragons like desynced with Fleur and Yachi, and then you also need to be using dragons for red markers, there are certain points in the fight where only Yachio has a dragon that can afford to heal people. So I don't really think she should be using this dragon. That said, if you're really, really strong and you and Fleur are using this dragon, you can just speedrun expert to the point that you're breaking before Shadow Blast, so it doesn't matter. In that case, this dragon's an improvement, and it's pretty great. For Master, the healing isn't as necessary for consistency, so again, this is pretty good. I just personally don't think you want to commit 4 stones to this new dragon when you have Cupid already in content like that. As far as other content, you know, if you have Fleur, if you have Yachio, it's going to be a great improvement, because most times you don't even dragon in that content. And then finally for Mercurial Gauntlet, it's an improvement, but like it has 80% res, so the amount of para that you're actually going to get off is not that good, and it's a little suspect. That said, we just got a new para Punisher print that you can probably slap on a lot of people and do relatively well. I don't really know, because MG55, healing is difficult. I don't know how consistently you're going to have people stay at full HP, especially since you're probably going to use 4 DPS units and healer helper, which means you're probably not going to be full HP. At that point, something like Bubblewood is probably better, because Bubblewood's just so freaking amazing. Before this event ends, try and grind enough copies of Bubblewood that you could have 4, just because I really feel like for stuff like MG, it's just one of the most useful prints out there. It's really nice, and it's such an easy event to grind prints for. You don't have to grind 4 mobs, but enough copies that you could key them if you need them. So, that's... Oh, yeah. Cleo. Sorry. Cleo. I really like Cleo. I have a little bit of bias towards the old Cleo. I think she's really good. I have other people tell me she's not as good as I think she is. Her skill shift is pretty great. She gets a lot of energy. She buffs the team. It is nearby, so it's a little awkward on a dagger unit if you have ranged units. So stuff like Lily and HBH kind of need to remember to be close. And then she's got an interesting set of skills that really just increase her damage, and that's it. The biggest thing I want to say about her is she is burn vulnerable. So using her in HBH is difficult, as it is with everyone else. Karina exists as an amazing burn vuln option that you would probably take over her in every situation. Also, when she gets burned, she loses her energy stacks, which really, really kneecaps her DPS. That said, until HD2s were added, my fastest master clear was with a Yule Cleo. So that's partially why I have a big soft spot for them. I think they work really well in Master. Expert, no. In general content, she's a dagger. She'll churn through things. Her skills let her churn through things better. She's pretty good. I would consider her like a 5th or 6th pick for Mercurial Gauntlet as well, behind some of the really heavy haymakers. She's definitely not a budget option for Mercurial, like, oh, well, I gotta use her because I don't have blank. She's up there, in my opinion. But again, a lot of people tell me she's not as good as I think, so I'll leave that to you to decide. So, let's talk about the SP costs of these characters, because they are fucking annoying. They're really annoying. So, I did all this math before the video. These are their SP costs for S1. I'm not looking at S2, I'm not looking at S3, because that's variable, and also doesn't really matter. I'm going to talk about Zane first, because Zane is basically Noelle. His basic combo is 5FS, 5FS, 1, which is so awkward for a wand and just not good. Not good at all. Now, technically, I believe using 2 buff time prints is going to be better than this 1% option here that uses buff time and Jewels or Unite. That said, I would still use it just because it's so much simpler to remember and easy to think about mid-fight. This 10% haste combo doesn't really have a print combination that lets us get there that is good. It's really only bow, and since bow's not used currently, I just don't have anything really listed for it. At 20%, Zero Bind Freya lets you get a nice simple combo of 5-5, which, there you go, there's your solid Noelle, right? Nice and easy. At Mub Freya, we get 5FS4, which is just chef's kiss wonderful, because with 5FS4, you can do 5FS and then 4 and then float the final 5th hit, and then next combo, you can do 5FS, 5, floating the 5th hit again. So you can constantly get into a loop of floating the 5th hit after doing that first FS, and then you can start doing FFSs, failed 4 strikes, which massively speeds up the buff time because you're massively speeding up your frame time. It's wonderful. 35% is a great place to be. At 47%, we drop that FS completely, and yeah, I mean, doesn't really matter because you're only doing that FS one time, and the only way to reach it is with bow, so it's there. But again, Mub Freya is really where you want to be with him. Zero Bind Freya does work just fine, though. So that's nice, because I imagine a lot of people have Zero Bind Freyas and not Mub Freyas. Again, he's basically Noelle. That's all you really need to think about with him. Melora, my sweet baby, what did they do to you? 3,849 SP is one of the most awkward combinations for haste I've ever seen. Right away at 0%, we're looking at 5FS, 5FS1, which is awful on an axe. Absolutely awful. That's one of the slowest skills. It's just really awkward that you have to 1 after an FS. I mean, technically 5FS 5-2 would be a little bit easier, albeit a little slower. As low as 2% haste, we can remove that 1 and just go to 5FS 5FS. So what I think that means is her best combo generally is going to be KFM plus Unite / Jewels. Now, maybe HOH with the 6% haste and then some other print would be better. I don't think so because KFM's so nuts, but the option's there. 9, 10, and 14% aren't really reachable with current print combinations to be worthwhile. They're all pretty much bow only. And once we have bow, we can hit 21%, which is 5-5. And that's as good as we could ask, realistically. You know, that's Ramona. That's pretty much all general axes at this point. And that's just a simple bow plus haste print. So really, every single build that I think you should do with her is KFM plus Unite. There really isn't anything else that you can do, unfortunately. And that's a little awkward because, like, 5FS is not easy to pull off all the time in content. And I don't mean like the actual button press. I mean the time window before you have to dodge an attack or something. That said, she does have that shield skill, which I mentioned earlier. So that will help a little bit for most content and a little bit in Zodiark. Not really, but a little bit. That said, even with this SP cost, her damage values look very good. A 100% defense down uptime is great. And it being in light, the weakest DPS element, means she's going to be really good. She's going to be a solid pick. She's probably going to be in teams for a while in most content. I don't think she replaces anything on the Zodiark team, but that's mostly because that setup is very specific. If anyone she could replace, it would be Yachio, and that might be possible. It just needs someone brave enough to try. And unfortunately, our community's not at that point right now. And I wish we were, but that's a topic for another video. Thank you all for watching. As a little bonus, we're going to do my 2 daily summons. Let's start with the banner that's not as exciting. Are we going to get Zia? Are we going to get Kamui? Are we going to get nothing? We got nothing. Alrighty. I'm actually going to summon on this banner, so we're just going to start off with single tickets. Hey! Are we going to get a crash? Is it going to explode into 5-star for me? Nope. Okay. I'll take it. It's Eldwater. No big deal.